We are live here on Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend, a busy one indeed. We'll get into so much, including Eric Staal, now a Montreal Canadian. He had him on the no-fly list as one of the teams that he would not be traded to. He waived that, and apparently he's ecstatic on becoming a Montreal Canadian. So we'll talk about that, the games that we watched and witnessed on the weekend, and what we can anticipate coming up this week. But before we bring in our Real Kyper at noon hockey expert in the National Hockey League, maybe we should go to a little NCAA expertise with Joe Hulka. Joe, we got the Final Four. I thought maybe I'd give you a bit of a mention here, Joe, in terms of three teams out of Minnesota going to the Final Four, including, I think, Minnesota State for the first time in history.
Yeah, pretty cool to see three Minnesota teams in the Frozen Four. It's kind of funny. The only other time St. Cloud has been there is when we were there, but it's also in Pittsburgh this year, same as it was the year that we were there. We gave up like 4 goals in the first period, so hopefully they can do a little better than we did. But yeah, their leading goal scorer actually broke his femur in the first period, so the guys kind of rallied around and ended up beating Boston College pretty convincingly. So it was pretty cool.
Minnesota Duluth needed 5 overtimes. Now, I know for sure Doug Maclean wouldn't have stayed up for that, but I got to think you would.
Yeah, I mean, 5 overtimes, most ever in, I think, any college hockey game. So pretty wild. It's pretty crazy, actually, to see what Minnesota Duluth has been able to do. I think it's their 4th straight Frozen Four. They've won 2 of the last 3. So super impressive. North Dakota was the kind of heavy favorite to win it all. So seeing them go down always makes me happy for sure.
Doug Maclean, let's go to you in Florida and ask you, on your best day, you wouldn't have been able to stay up and watch that. Not even in your heyday.
On my best day, I wouldn't watch 1 overtime of Minnesota Duluth and North Dakota. But I was glad to see North Dakota lose. I've been cheering hard against them for the last few months. Good for Minnesota Duluth. But it's funny. I'm trying to think of the kid I drafted in the 2nd round from Mankato State. Mankato had a pretty good career in the NHL. As it ended up playing in Calgary. Big, strong winger. What was his name? 2nd round pick. Anyway.
It'll come to you by Friday.
Yeah, it'll come to me by Friday. Anyway, it's exciting. The Final Four is always a great tournament. UMass Amherst sort of catches me off guard that they're in the Final Four. That's not typical. But anyway, it happens. And good on the 3 Minnesota teams. They've always been a hockey outfit. They love their high school hockey there.
Tim Jackman, Doug. That was who you're talking about. Tim Jackman, right?
Jackman. Yes, I drafted him in the 2nd round. He actually had a pretty
big
good career.
Boy.
Big tough kid. Skill guy. Well, I remember going to watch him in Mankato, and he was this big, after we had drafted him, and he was a big, strong, skill guy. And then he became a tough kid, and anyway, had a decent career. So anyway, Mankato State.
Well, everything will kick off April 8th, and we'll wait for that in anticipation of the Final Four, set to go April 8th. All right, let's get into it, Mac. We're heading for a great week, by the way. Quick reminder for everybody out there watching, Darren Millard will be on the program on Wednesday, so that will be our reunion show. You know, I've been watching all the likes. You guys have been hitting the button. We appreciate it so much, but the subscriptions actually have gone up tremendously in the last little while. So if you are watching for the first time, hit the subscribe button, and that way you can get all the latest on what's happening. But Wednesday will be a fun show. And
have you told Millard yet he's not the host? He's just a guest. You know how he likes to take over?
Yes, I do. And I kind of reminded him that probably the last 10 years that you're not really like, the boss. How's that?
We used to tell Jeff Merrick that as well, but he didn't listen.
It'll be fun having Darren back on, and we'll get into all the great memories, including getting you to be Gene Simmons on a on a costume day on
They
Halloween.
weren't all great. They weren't all great memories.
Well, we'll get into it when you threw like a water bottle at him at the Memorial Cup. Hey, and he told you to take a walk. I thought you guys were going to go toe to toe.
We gotta tell the story too about when Eugene Melnyk come up and was a guest for us at the Memorial Cup in Mississauga. We were playing it, and the Minnesota owner Eugene Melnyk come up and said,
I called him. You're not allowed to call him Eugene Levy, just me. I'll let Darren tell the Eugene Melnyk story. Not
yeah,
me.
I think so. I think it's a good one. It was a great one, though, wasn't it?
Well, it was a good one. You know what else was a good one? Hearing Aaron Portzline, who follows the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Oh, now, good God. What did he say now?
The story goes that he said that...
just a minute. You better explain who Aaron Portzline is, because nobody in hockey knows who the hell he is.
He's a writer for the Columbus Blue Jackets. And...
cheerleader for the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Would you stop it for a second? So he may have come up with the line of the year, by the way. And if in fact he said, and I quote, Doug Maclean, the general manager, would hate Doug Maclean, the broadcaster.
Oh my God, he did say something accurate.
I absolutely loved that. Look, I just knocked over a little Buddha. I loved hearing that because it is so true, by the way. He nailed it. You would be beside yourself trying to get Doug Maclean, the broadcaster, fired after the stuff that you've said over the last few years, especially on this show. So
everybody
he's in my good books.
Everybody gets finds every squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
Listen, before we get into Columbus and the disaster on the weekend, including losses to Detroit and Patrick Laine.
Just a minute. Was Lidstrom and Datsuk on the ice on the weekend? They looked like Datsuk and Lidstrom were playing for Detroit the way they dominated.
Dominated. And we're going to get into Tortorella and all of it.
Do we have to?
Yeah, we do. But we really want to focus right now on the Montreal Canadiens and acquiring Eric Staal. And we all wondered what this trade deadline is going to be, but it really has started to shape up, Mac, as one that should kind of have a typical feel despite the pandemic. The good news was that Canada took 7 days off. Good news for the players, good news for the league, good news for hockey fans. Probably not so good.
Great news for me as I go back to Canada. I have to do 14 days. That's bullshit, by the way, that they can get away with that.
Well,
Total bullshit.
I was
and
about
they,
to...
And they camouflage it by saying, they're going into the Canadian bubble. That's not a bubble. I'm sorry. The NHL may be trying to BS the government that's a bubble they're in up in Canada, the North, but it's not a bubble. I do 14 days of quarantine, a call every day, or the Mounties come to my cottage, and they get 7 days. It's bullshit.
See, now we got the Canadian government also hating Doug Maclean, the broadcaster. Add them to the list.
Yes.
Yeah, I was about to say that, but I liked your rant better than mine, that there's everyone else that would hate the fact that there is preferential treatment there, but it is what it is. So Eric Staal goes to the Montreal Canadiens, Mac. We knew of some teams that are in the market for a depth guy, but as far as the center ice position for a team that is in a position to not only make the playoffs, but have some high expectations, Montreal was the weakest in the middle.
Yeah, they were the weakest. And, we talked about it going into the season as a concern of the Montreal Canadiens. Not that you don't like their center ice. I mean, everybody likes Danault as a real good two-way centerman. Can't score this year, but he certainly is a dependable two-way player. You love Suzuki. I mean, they wouldn't trade him, in when there was major talks going on, maybe in the Dubois deal. Kokoniemi, you like what he did, and Ward is a kid. I mean, or Evans, I should say, is a youngster.
Jack Evans.
So they're weak down the middle, and a veteran centerman, albeit Eric has had a horrendous year. I mean, is it the Buffalo situation? Is it Eric Staal? He's career-wise below 50% on faceoffs. He's got 6 or 8 points this year. He's had a ton of power play opportunities in Buffalo. And yet people think it's a good pickup. Well, because they need some veteran presence down there, and maybe he'll get excited. We remember he went to the Rangers for the playoffs a few years ago. It was a complete bust. How will it work this time? He went to Minnesota, was extremely good there. So we'll see. I mean, I think it's a good gamble. I think it's a good gamble by Montreal Canadiens.
Well, even as his last 3 or 4 years in Carolina before he got to New York, there was a fall off in his game. And then, as you mentioned, a complete disaster in New York. And then he comes back in the next 3 years and scores close to 30 goals a season.
And played well.
Close to 100 goals over 3 seasons in Minnesota and played well. So now he's 36, Mac. And yeah, he has not been very good this year, but is he at the age now where the game and the wheels just fall off? Because that's kind of what I'm seeing here.
Well, that's what we're seeing based on how he performed. Look, he didn't want to go to Buffalo to begin with. That rocked him when he went to Buffalo because he, apparently building a new home in Minnesota, the family comfortable, everybody happy there, expecting to finish his career. Then he ends up in Buffalo, and it hasn't. Obviously, we all know how that's turned out. But to me, good gamble. Good gamble. I mean, dollars are being 50% eaten by Buffalo. Can he come in and fill in? Can he get rejuvenated? He's always been able to put points on the board against the Leafs. Can he get himself going for a round or two of the playoffs? I like the move personally. I do.
I agree with you that the risk is minimal for the Montreal Canadiens, especially when you see the success of guys like Jason Spezza. And I don't know if he can get to that level for the Montreal Canadiens. But even if the young players kind of take a liking to him and gravitate to him, much like they have in Toronto for some of their players, including Thornton, then I think it is a good risk.
A 3rd and 5th round pick this year's draft. Buffalo moved quick on it. You mentioned this morning. You thought maybe they moved a little too quick. Well, obviously, I would say the only reason you typically move too quick on a deal around the deadline is that you've got no interest in the guy. If you have no interest, and I don't know that, I don't know how much interest there was in Eric Staal, but why else would you move 12 days early or 14 days early? Well, if you were nervous that there wasn't the interest there, that's the only reason why you would do it. Otherwise, you would wait it out, but you didn't want to be stuck with them. And for Buffalo to pick up a couple picks, I guess is good. I mean, how many picks? I mean, that's all they've done for 10 years is pick up picks,
Well, I think that's the inexperience of not being comfortable understanding a marketplace for Kevin Adams. And that's not a knock against him. It's just the reality, Mac, that you are, I think, 17 days outside of the trade deadline at the time, and you take the first offer. I know Marc Bergevin went on publicly and said that there were 2 other teams in the race to get him, but I'm calling bullshit on that, just based on the deal that ended up being. And I'll tell you something too about those picks. We know Montreal, Mac, are loaded with a lot of draft picks. They've been able to do that the last few years. But the 3rd and the 5th that Bergevin gave Kevin Adams weren't the best of the bunch. He's got, they'll take Montreal's picks, but Bergevin keeps a 3rd rounder that belonged to Chicago, and he kept a 5th round that belonged to Ottawa. Those are much better picks for teams that are about to miss the playoffs than the one that they're gonna keep with their own. At the very least, take the best of the 3rd and the 5th. Kevin Adams didn't even do that,
unless Bergevin wouldn't give them up.
Well,
but that, again, that's a negotiation. And I mean, I can't believe that Montreal would not have done the deal if they wouldn't have forced their hand on that,
Well, and you also got owners that have bled money incredibly the last few years. They're watching millions, fall by the wayside with little value coming back. And that includes Taylor Hall, Skinner. You've got now your franchise player not even on the ice here. And yet you got to pick up 50% of Eric Staal's contract. You can't at least hang in there and try to unload the whole thing. Just, at the end of the day, I know it's only $750,000, but maybe it's a little bit of the principle too.
Well, that would,
wouldn't that piss you off?
Well, what'll bother me is how much they have to hold of Halls. That would bother me more.
Well, maybe he's keeping his powder dry on that one.
I hope so.
Is this also, Mac, a message when it comes to Marc Bergevin and if you're going to take a flyer on Eric Staal playing some of the worst hockey he's played in his career at this particular time, does that tell you that this is just the beginning for Marc Bergevin? He needs to make another 1-2 more moves here to solidify that they could take a run of coming out of the North Division. You don't go get Eric Staal to just sit on Eric Staal.
No, and I think I've got to believe that they're also going to, like, the name that keeps jumping out to me that a ton of teams could use, and we've discussed them, is Savard in Columbus. The collapse in Detroit by the Blue Jackets this week, does that affect the moving of Savard? To me, there's got to be a number of teams that are looking for Savard. I mean, right off the top, the Montreal Canadiens have got to be on that list. The Winnipeg Jets have got to be on that list. The Florida Panthers now have got to be on that list with the Ekblad injury because they wanted to. And the Toronto Maple Leafs, in my mind, everybody's talking about them adding a forward and, talking about Bennett and talking about Foligno and talking about all these guys. What about their blue line? Is that blue line really good enough? I know they've played well. Dermott, Hall, Bogosian. Telling you, I still believe that they're going to be in the market. And I think Savard, one of those four teams, Montreal, Florida, Winnipeg, or Toronto, are going to take a run at Savard. I really believe that. And he will be a valuable guy. What's he at? 3.2 million? Or Savard's at 4.25 million. So it's a reasonable pickup as you get closer to the deadline because every day the dollar amount drops.
It wasn't too long ago, and as we shift gears towards Columbus, it wasn't too long ago, Mac. We were all wondering about Columbus and how good of a team they were, and you had pending UFAs and top stars like Bobrovsky, like Panarin, and the message just a few short years ago was, we're all in. In fact, not only are we not going to move those guys, we're going to add a Duchesne, a Dzingel. And here we are today, and it's a disaster. It is not pretty right now for the Columbus Blue Jackets. We've spent the last few days, few weeks, wondering Buffalo is the worst team. And then, no, it's Philadelphia that's the worst team out there. And today we go, is it not Columbus?
Well, I mean, I'm watching the game yesterday, and I'm sorry, halfway through the game, they had 6 shots on goal in Detroit against the Detroit Red Wings, the worst, who are not the worst team in the league, but certainly the second worst team based. And they looked like they were friggin' superstars. I mean, the way they skated. Larkin could have had 5 goals on the weekend. So, and somebody mentioned to me from Columbus, we're going to win these 2. They got a junior B goalie playing goal for them, Pickard, who we know is not a junior B goalie, who's a guy that's actually been a backup in a number of cities and has been a career minor league backup type guy. Kid from New Brunswick, by the way, who actually played real well. He didn't have to, all he had to do was stand in the net because they hit him most of the time. But I'm telling you what, I looked the last two games, and I mean, Line A at 14 minutes a game. Like, I know he's -2. We talked in this show when they acquired him that, hey, he's not a 200-foot guy. Don't think that. Don't think he's a 200-foot guy. But, Nick, what's he got in the last 15, 16 games? One goal.
4 points.
And 14 minutes of ice time a game. I mean, what the hell is going on? Your team can't score, and this guy's playing 14 minutes, and I know Torts wants him to be more complete. I get all that. But the guy is one of the few guys. I mean, Foligno they perceive as a superstar. If I'm not mistaken, he just got his first goal in 22 games or something. Something crazy, or his second goal in 22 games. I mean, come on.
Let me just pull it back a little bit, and I'll have
peel the onion a little bit.
Yeah, I just want to take it back. I know you kind of you went off on a little bit,
a little tangent, yeah,
a little tantrum. And happy to talk about Patrik Laine, but the point that I was trying to get, Mac, when I talked about Kekalainen a few years back, saying we're all in. They wanted to send a message to the fan base that they were going to go for it. And unfortunately, it ended quite miserably. And I think today there was a price to pay for that. And now we hear, a player like David Savard. There is huge interest in David Savard. Might be the most interest out of anybody out there, because when it comes to winning playoff type of hockey, that guy could arguably be more valuable than any type of goal scorer because of the shutdown ability of top players. So how can you be all in a few years ago, and now, despite being in still a race, Mac, they're still in a playoff race. We know what Nashville's doing. We know what Chicago's doing. Dallas cannot take advantage of their man games in hand. So you are right there.
3 points.
Can Jarmo, as a general manager, afford to keep David Savard, who we know will not resign in Columbus? How can he keep him? He has to trade him. You got burned a few years ago. You can't get burned again.
Well, they've got to trade him. They've got to trade him. It's too big a gamble, because they gave up picks when they acquired Duchesne and all these people, because they had all these great young prospects that were coming that have not actually played anywhere close to what Columbus thought they were going to be as far as young players. I mean, I'm thinking down the middle, for instance, with Texier. First round pick. People like Texier. People thought there could be, they didn't have a center. They didn't have quality. They didn't have veteran centerman to play with Laine, but I think they felt that a Texier Laine could help both. He could get the puck to Laine, and Laine could give Texier the confidence because he'd score with him on the ice. So all of a sudden, they are thin. They are thin. They got a lot of young guys and a lot of young European guys. They got their top 3 prospects are Russians. A kid in Russia is lighting it up, apparently. I've heard that before. I've lived that before. So, who knows what it is. But I mean, you cannot, you've got Foligno and you've got Savard. And they are 2 guys that lots of teams could use at playoff time. Foligno for a third line, hard-nosed kid, character. And Savard, the same thing, a second pairing shutdown guy. If I'm going to play again, I kept thinking about this watching Saturday night. If I'm going to go against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I'm thinking I've got to shut down Austin Matthews, and I watched him the other night, I'm thinking that he's every bit as tough to shut down in a 5-on-5 or power play situation as Ovi was in his prime. I'm telling you, this guy tees them up with a different shot selection, And you need a high-end shutdown guy to have any chance of shutting this guy down at playoff time. He's that big, he's that strong, he's that skilled. So to me, that's why Savard's value is through the roof.
Yeah, and I see Matthews a little bit like Malkin, right? Big horse, 200 feet.
Yeah,
it's a hard guy to shut down.
I agree. Like I'm telling you, with his shot selection and the way the pull and drag and the way he gets to the net. I mean, Nick, this. If I'm Winnipeg and I'm Montreal, and I think I'm going to have to go head to head, and Edmonton, they're a little tougher situation, although they're playing great hockey, but they need a shutdown guy. If you're going to have a chance to contend and beat the Leafs, a shutdown guy is critical. And also a big, strong wingers that can work, around the tops of the circles in the defensive zone.
I see one of the few sign and trades. We don't see it very often, Mac, but I think if I was to assess this whole marketplace, the best chance for a sign and trade would be David Savard. I think to make the commitment to David Savard would be a commitment that I want to turn this into 3, 4, 5-year commitment. And I certainly don't want to trade for him to lose him in an expansion draft. So
no, exactly.
That's the type of trade and that I would be looking at as a general manager, that I would have to get this guy on a long-term deal to be my shutdown guy for the next near future.
But you're saying to do it after the expansion draft?
It doesn't matter. I just need a commitment.
He's not eligible. If he's not signed, he's not eligible for the expansion draft. If you have a deal done, an agreement done for July after when free agency opens up, that's what you want to do. You don't want to sign him and have to protect him.
I don't want to trade for him and then lose him for nothing. That's my whole point.
No, I know.
Right?
By the way,
would he not be a first round pick or a blue chip type of prospect?
Well, with the pressure on a Winnipeg, the pressure on a Montreal, the pressure on a Toronto to get out of the first round of to get out of the North Division, to me, he's a guy, and I don't think Savard has had a great year, but Mac, know what he's going to bring to the table.
He's been shown the front door all season long. Okay.
By the way, you
play with your heart.
Right. So one other guy just jumped into my mind. Another first round pick. I think about the first round picks. Wenberg's in Florida. Reichel was a first round pick. Dano. They had 3 first round picks in 1 year, and all 3 of them aren't there. The other guy is Liam Foudy. Remember him, London Knights? He's in the minors. Looked like he was going to be a solid guy last year in the playoffs,
and will be.
He's in the minors. Yeah, and he's in the minors right now. So hopefully that first round pick will make it for him. But look, I think if this guy Savard doesn't get picked up by one of these Canadian teams, then they're making a big mistake. One of those 3 teams, or 4 in Edmonton, one of those 4 Canadian teams, if they think they have a chance, to me, it's one signing that could certainly help all those teams.
We cannot finish.
And it's good for Columbus because they're going to get a price for him.
We can't finish a Columbus conversation without mentioning Tortorella. After that debacle against Detroit, you think this is the time he's going to come out and start hammering guys left, right, and center, and everybody expected to start with Patrick Laine at his 14 minutes, but for whatever reason, he chose the opposite and didn't specifically go that route. So when you expect it, he doesn't. When you don't expect it, he does. But Mac, 14 minutes. Okay, for a guy that you traded that's supposed to be your superstar, 14 minutes. How does that happen? How does he not still feel enough pressure to say, I can't embarrass this guy. I can't embarrass our organization. We gave up our number 1 centerman for him. I gotta if the ship's going down, let's go down playing this guy 21, 22 minutes.
Listen, I love Dave King. Okay, I love Dave King. But I'll never forget watching with Rusty Klesla, who was a first-round pick and looked like he was going to be a real good player coming out of Brampton. I mean, this is a kid defenseman that could create offense.
A horse. He was a horse.
And I mean, he ended up playing 12 years, but sort of, disappointing, I guess, because we all thought he was going to be a real top guy, and so did everybody else, a high third overall pick. I remember watching him one night, and he played, I think, 4 minutes of ice time when I went down, and I said to Dave King after the game, I said, Dave, I don't think this was our first year in the league or second year in the league, whatever it was. And I said, Dave, I just don't think we're going to win the cup this year. I don't think we're good enough to win the cup this year. We're an expansion team. Could we not get Rusty on the ice a little more than 4 minutes? And the next game, he played him 3 minutes. I'm thinking,
okay,
holy good God.
You're my boss, and you've quietly given me the nod.
And I love Dave King, by the way.
Play a guy, and then now, was that a fuck you, or was that I forgot, or I just can't play him anymore than that?
No, it was just, I mean, Dave was a stubborn guy, and there's nothing wrong with that. I happen to like Dave King a lot, and he was a good man, and he had an amazing career. I think he just believed that. I think he just believed that that's what he deserved. And lots of times you're caught here because you're trying to build chemistry, and if kids get the free ride, it doesn't go good. But we're not talking about a rookie here with Laine. We're talking about a 30-goal scorer or more in his career. And we're talking about a guy that should be ready to just totally take off in his career. We're talking about a team that can't score, that nobody on that team can score with the exception of, well, who? Bjorkstrand?
Every time you write off Tortorella in Columbus, kind of finds a way to get these guys to go a little bit here.
He does.
And
yeah, he does.
I don't know.
But these two games against Detroit, I'm sorry, I've never seen. I agree with you. When Torts is down and out, and he gets them going, they find another gear and they get it going. But these two performances, after battling Carolina last week, winning two shootouts in Carolina, and then they lost tough ones at home to Carolina. Then to go into Detroit after playing real well last week, to totally piss it away was mind-boggling to me. Mind-boggling. And then to have the scorer not get to play. What do you do when you've got a guy that is in a funk like this guy's in? I know he was -2, and I know he's given up some goals because of defensive. Don't you double shift him? Don't you put him on left wing and put him on right wing?
No. You know what you do? You don't double shift him. You double down on who you are and what you're all about. And Tortorella, his bread and butter as a coach is holding people accountable. And he will never let that go. And even if it embarrasses Jarmo, his general manager, he is holding on to that. And I really believe at this point, Mac, that he is coaching in many ways for his next job. And he will sell his accountability right to the bitter end with Columbus. And the beauty of it is the more he pushes this accountability and playing Laine 12 or 14 minutes, the more he probably intrigues other teams who are so desperate for it right now. And I include the Pagulas in Buffalo. Maybe, just maybe, the more he watches, the more the Buffalo Sabres organization and the Pagulas watch Tortorella hold people accountable, the more they say, we need some of that in Buffalo. Just a thought. What do you think?
He's going to hold Eichel accountable.
Yes. Yeah.
And Skinner.
Yeah.
And Darlene. And, I mean, look, that I don't know. Look, Tortorella to me has done a good coaching job. He has. For me, it's time for him to go. I mean, I think, look, he's done a good job there. I don't think he'll be fired. I think at the end of the year they'll part ways. I think they'll part ways at the end of the year. I don't see Kekalainen firing him. I think Torts will say, okay, my contract's expired. I'm going to move on. I think that's what will happen. I think there's respect there on both sides. What?
I don't
think
disagree.
There's respect on both sides. And we can, I look, there's different ways to get guys out of slumps. And ice time is not just the only way. Sometimes you've got to be a little more proactive and try to push it. Play them with the top line. Give them extra, double shift them. Do some of those things. These were wins. These were winnable games against the Detroit Red Wings that you lost. They were empty net goals in the games. Those were 2 wins you were counting on to make the playoffs. Accountability is I agree with you 100% on accountability, but don't mix up accountability and stupidity in the same sentence when you've got to win 2 games against the worst team in the second worst team in the league. That's all I'm saying. Nobody will ever question Tortorella's making players accountable, but can't you sometimes push the envelope to try to get a win?
I have no doubt that there will be a team waiting for Tortorella, just as the New York Islanders were waiting for Barry Trotz to leave Washington. And probably the most underpaid coach with a Stanley Cup resume than anybody else out there. Tortorella wants another payday and one that'll put him up there with the big boys. I think that's where he's headed.
So if you're a general manager and you're looking for a coach, you're going to say, tell me who you're hiring. Tortorella, Boudreau, Travis Green, Gerard Gallant.
Yeah, those are good choices. I think there's some good choices there.
Who are you? You're going to say, okay, I'm going to make I'm gonna go with Torts. I had Travis Green, Gerard Gallant, Bruce Boudreau.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a hard blanket question when you don't know what type of character you have in the room and who could handle it and who buckles, who rolls it up.
And look, all 4 of them have done a lot in their careers. They all have done. They're all quality people. Obviously, who I love Gerard Gallant. I had him in Columbus. I had to fire him. Still pisses me off to this day that I was told to fire him. But, he's proven he's a pretty good coach. Travis Green's done a good job. I think I like that style of coach. I love the Gerard Gallant, the Travis Green style of coach.
Well, that's just call it the way you see it. That's what that is.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
Honesty, no bullshit.
I know.
And good hockey people.
But again, Mac, it goes to
I don't need the drama.
But it goes to now knowing what type of players you have and how you forecast the response. And I'll give you a perfect example of that. And we talked about this when we first heard about Daryl Sutter in Calgary. It's Sutter versus Johnny Hockey Gaudreau. And I told you this could be pay-per-view stuff. And it hasn't disappointed. i.e., the example of Daryl Sutter asked about Johnny Gaudreau and his 500th career game in Calgary. And what was the answer from Daryl Sutter? Mac, tell us.
I hope he has more energy in his 500th game than he did in his 499th game.
Wow. That's it.
But then Johnny
Stone-faced when he said it.
Stone-faced. Then Johnny said, I've been playing hockey for 24, 25 years. I know when I've played well and when I haven't played well. This is 3 years. Daryl's there for 3 years, a 3-year contract.
So if a guy like Daryl Sutter, with his experience and his expertise over the years and his credibility and his respect factor, all of that, when Johnny looks at him like he's got 3 heads and he doesn't really give a shit about what he thinks about his energy, how does that work moving forward?
Well, you're the guy that wants to hire Tortorella, so you tell me.
Well, that's, again, knowing what you're dealing with here. So it kind of takes the cards out of the coach's hands when I don't give a shit what you think comes into play. And is that not what we saw in Calgary?
100%.
And I'm not even really justifying it in 2021, Daryl Sutter's comments, Mac, because for me, if I'm the owner of Calgary or even Brad Tree Living, Daryl, we love you, and it's funny. It's a funny comment, and anyone that's outside of this organization is laughing at it.
Except Johnny Gaudreau.
Or me, if I'm Brad Tree Living.
No.
How is that comment helping me? And how is that comment helping the Calgary Flames when he's one of our best assets?
You know what? One of the greatest traits of NHL coaches is honesty. Telling it to the player the way it is. Tortorella is respected because he does that. Gerard Gallant is respected. Travis Green. There's a Daryl Sutter. There's a number of these guys that are well respected because that's how they operate. Lindy Ruff, Barry Trotz. We can go on and on. But there's a way to say it and there's a time to say it. And if you're going to say that to Johnny Gaudreau, I suspect it's probably better to say it to Johnny's face in your office. And Daryl would. But I don't know.
No, you're right.
I love Daryl Sutter. I love Daryl Sutter, but
I like him too. I do.
But I'll tell you what, I thought I didn't like the comment.
It just doesn't work anymore, Mac.
No.
Daryl, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you could have said that publicly and the guy would have just it would have ate him up inside until he could prove you otherwise on the ice. That's the way it's supposed to work. In Daryl's mind is, I hope he gets the message through my comments publicly.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work with some of these kids today, and Johnny just proved it. Johnny didn't buckle. He didn't say, I need to be better. He went the opposite. He basically gave Daryl Sutter, fuck you.
And he also went out and scored or had a couple of points, and they won the game against Winnipeg. And he played well. But you also, your reputation now is a organizational fixer, because that's what you do on this show. I mean, you did clips last week on Carter Hart. Carter Hart, you said he should go to the minors. I said he should take a few days off away and work with the goalie coach and work. Today, it's announced that Carter Hart is going to be a healthy scratch the next 2 games. And I thought, he's going to the minors like Kippy suggested. No, he's going to spend 2 or 3 days working with the goalie coach. And, so you were halfway.
Well, listen, and Elaine did not spare feelings for Carter Hart on this one either. No. He basically called him out.
While we're in the coaches, he gave Carter Hart a few shots.
He did. This is supposed to be your number one guy this year, and it's fallen off the rails.
This is questioning a franchise player.
He questioned his focus. He questioned his work habits. right? He made it really clear about his practice habits, all of it, Mac. That. When you see players struggle, there could be a number of reasons, but saying you're not working hard enough or you're lazy or your practice habits stink, wow, you don't hear that very often.
So, you're, as I said, you're the organizational fixer here.
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, you've given a lot of good tips.
This is just me and you shooting the shit. That's all.
Okay.
We're just.
By the way, we should touch on. We forgot to bring this up when we were talking about Montreal, but we should bring up the Cole Caulfield signing. The Montreal Canadiens signed the superstar kid out of University of Wisconsin, one of the greatest scorers U.S. college history. He moves to Montreal. Some people say he may start in Laval. He signs his cap deal and is ready to score. I mean, this kid can score. This kid is a hell of a player.
Listen, I can appreciate every hype out of every kid coming out of junior hockey or college. But again, expectations, how many games will he get in? Does he I heard Bergevin talking about Ovechkin-like goals. And yeah, it looks great, Mac. But the kid is not the biggest or the strongest kid out there. I have to go back to the Leafs putting Nick Robertson out there, one of the top junior goal scorers, and he gets crushed in his first game, and he's out for the next 4 to 6 weeks. Sticking a kid out there that weighs $160, $165 amongst men weigh about 225, 240. You got to be careful here.
I remember the night we were on Hockey Central, and it was Johnny Gaudreau's first game for the Calgary Flames, and you and Glenn Healy did a mock-up showing Zdeno Chara and Johnny Gaudreau on the same screen, and Chara was exactly twice as big as Johnny Gaudreau. And I said, be careful what you say, boys. This guy's is going to be a hell of a player. He's going to have a hell of a career. So I'm just warning you now again. Too bad Healy's not on with you, your buddy. Be careful what you say. Cole Caulfield's the real deal.
I'm not saying that he won't be great. No, I did not.
You almost did.
I'm just telling you that sometimes it takes a little bit of time. Lafreniere, Jack Hughes, takes time sometimes.
But this kid's a little older. Well, I mean, what's he, a junior at Wisconsin? Anyway, we'll see. But it's a good.
All right,
good move again.
So he's going to score right away, according to you.
Well.
Could be lightning in a bottle. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying the odds aren't really
I'm telling you that
with them early.
That I think the difference in the Montreal Canadiens is Mark Staal centering Cole Caulfield.
No, Eric, get your stalls straight.
Or Eric.
Jesus. Did you screw up all the Sutters too? Did you?
Oh, I thought they got Mark too from Detroit. I thought they got Mark.
Oh my God. Were you one of those guys that could never set, Brent or Brett or Dwayne, Daryl? Did you screw them all up back then too?
I loved what we got a chance to work with Richie Sutter at Sportsnet, and I love what Daryl said about, like, you're not. He doesn't just rip his players. They said, hey, I ran into Richie the other night. I said, oh, did you get a chance to say anything other than hello? Because Richie can talk with the best of them. I love Richie.
Love them all. Love them all.
Sure. That's for sure.
Okay, so are we going to stay in the Central a little bit and talk about how David Poile's saving his job?
Well, they're playing awful well right now. That is for sure. They are playing some good hockey.
7-1 in the last 8 games.
And Dallas can't. I mean, look, what is going? I know Dallas are hurting, but what the hell? with that blue line and that group, how is Dallas so bad? And Nashville were so bad, and now they're getting it going. I mean, what the hell? I can't believe this. In fairness, would they outshoot Florida 29-7 after Ekblad got hurt last night? But hey, Dallas and Nashville, David Poile's saving his job, and Dallas Stanley Cup finalists could miss.
So we just discussed Columbus being in a tough predicament in terms of now or the future. David Poile, same thing, Mac. There are some talks of whether or not they want to go long-term with David Poile, if they need a reset or a rebuild. But if you're David Poile, it's pretty clear you're going to want to make the playoffs right now to try to save your job.
Well, I don't understand the value. Ekholm's the name that we keep hearing, and Ellis is the name. And they're good players. They're under contract. Yeah, you're going to get you're going to get some good prospects and picks for them. But I don't blame David Poile for trying to make the playoffs. They believe they have a good hockey team. They believe they could go into the playoffs and they can beat some of these top teams if they're hitting on all cylinders. I think David's crazy to trade Ekholm. Look, Shea Weber trade goes down, and the Jones trade. Don't do any more right now, David. Don't do any more. Those are horrendous trades, and David's made some good ones, a ton of them in his career. He's been around forever, and he's done usually a pretty good job. But it's not pretty right now, and trading Ekholm and Ellis is not the answer to turning this franchise around.
Yeah, the sense is more Ellis maybe than Ekholm right now. But
and what's he got? 6 years left on his deal?
I don't think it's that many. We'll take a look.
Yeah. Have our crack staff look that up for us. Is Joe gone on coffee break, or is he Jordan? I should say, is he on coffee break?
What are you looking for? Here, I'm here. Come on.
Cap friendly. Was it Ekholm you were asking?
No, Ellis.
Oh, Ellis.
What's his first name?
Ryan Ellis.
I think he has 6 years left on his deal, but we can check it out. It's no big panic. No big panic, Jordan.
Okay.
I'm here.
Let's
I know you're there, but
Jordan, you can look that up. In the meantime, Mac, we go back and we talk about Eric Ekblad in Florida, and there was a lot of eyes rolling when he signed his $60 million contract about too much too soon, and it was probably hard for him mentally to kind of wrap around the expectations that come with that contract. But in this last year, man, he really settled in and found his sweet spot on this team. It was disheartening to see him go down on the weekend.
Well, I think he's got 11 goals. He's been a horse defensively for them. In fairness to Ekblad, you go into Florida, it hasn't been the greatest place to be the last number of years. It's been up and down, ownership changes, everything else going on. No success, coaches being fired, and as a kid. But look, he's been spectacular. And Quenneville talked about it this morning. This is a monumental loss for them right now as they head into the playoffs. And it looked serious. It looks like it's long term. Nobody really knows, but it certainly looks like long-term. This is a tough kid that's played really hard and has played really well at both ends of the rink. So, yeah, the players, you heard the players talking about it. They were going in between periods and just wanted to give him a hug. And when do you hear that? Guys wanted to go in. It was a room off the dressing room where he was waiting to go to the hospital, and they're saying, hey, we just wanted to go in and give him a hug. That's what they think of this guy, So, big loss.
Uyghur, Yandel, Nudavera, they're gonna have to add somebody here. I gotta think Bill Zito has to now. I don't know even if David Savard's the right guy, or maybe you need somebody that can kind of carry the mail a little bit more than a Savard.
Well, there's a relationship, obviously, as Bill Zito and Kekalainen. They worked together for a long time. So do they make a deal? That's what I said. To me, Florida's one of four teams that have got to be in on Savard right now. and who knows? But Florida need desperately to have a run here. They desperately need to have a run in the playoffs with where they are. I mean, the backup goalie has been terrific when he's called on again. He's been excellent. He's spelled Bobrovsky off. He's given them a great opportunity. Drieger, or whatever his name is.
Drieger.
And he's been outstanding. So right now they're poised. You would not want to play this team in the first round of the playoffs. So, and to get the franchise back, to get the fans back, you can talk all you want about Barkov being there and Huberdeau. They got to win. They got to go a few rounds in the playoffs and get some energy back in the franchise.
Well, they got to get Barkov back. They got to get Barkov back. Hornquist is battling a little bit. So
he's out. He was out.
Yeah.
Both of them out last night.
Yep.
Key guys out of the lineup. Yeah.
So let's see if they can get healthy.
Yeah.
All right. How about your Boston Bruins, Mac?
Hey, Kyper, real quick, ace producer here to make Mac happy. Ryan Ellis, 6 years, 6.25 left until 2026, 27.
It's almost as if you did your homework, Mac, and you knew that. You just didn't know it well enough to say it, but that's
I said it. Here. I said I believe it's 6 years that he has left, didn't I, Jordan?
You did, and you were correct, per usual.
Okay. No, look, it doesn't matter if I'm correct or not. As long as I'm in the ballpark is all I've ever been. If you're in the ballpark, if you're close, whether it's a pronunciation, whether it's stats, as long as you're in the ballpark.
There you go.
Some of these names, man. Like last year, I was roasting you for the Shesterkin controversy, but I have no idea what's going on half of these.
All right. Let's you want to go Shesterkin, Mac? You want to talk a little bit goaltending with Kincaid now getting himself in there and Georgiev all of a sudden the odd man out in New York? You want to go there?
I am so excited that Kincaid is the goalie in New York right now. That's all I can say because I don't have to worry about pronouncing the name.
Okay. Then let's stay in the East and go to your Boston Bruins. Interesting listening to Jack Edwards call out the officials. No surprise there. I mean, first and foremost, this isn't about whether you're not like Jack Edwards or not, but how do you miss that tripping call on Krejci to take the Boston Bruins 5-on-3 against New Jersey?
It was a makeup call. So here's Jack Edwards goes ballistic. Well, listen, the Boston Bruins have got a lot of their top guys out of their lineup. They got Corrali out. They've got Marchand out. They've got DeBrusco. You notice who I said first. They've got some key guys out of their lineup. And they're on a power play. They're trailing New Jersey 1-0. They're fighting for their playoff lives. And that was as obvious a trip as you can see. And there's no call. And Jack basically says, well, because they're on the power play, they're not going to call and put them down 5-on-3. That's just the way refereeing is. You know what I say to it?
Which you've said many times.
He wasn't wrong in what he said.
Well, it's not the first missed call we've ever seen in the history of our game.
Oh, it happens all the time. And, Jack just gets oh my God, does he drive opposition people crazy the way he talks? He's such a homer, and he's
paid by the home team.
I thought Rimmer was
not
a
hard
homer.
to figure out.
This guy's taken Rimmer to a whole new level.
No.
So anyway,
Bruins fans love him.
I know they do, and I don't blame them. But oh my God, he pisses a lot of people off. But anyway, the league, not sure what the league think of Jack.
Well, in a perfect world, I think they'd want all their broadcasters or play-by-play men to call the game.
No, listen. This is what an league official told me when I was president and GM. When they were referring to your local team broadcast. Boys, make sure your broadcasters understand that the game is a 3-hour infomercial. Yeah. So I remember telling Rimmer and whoever was the TV guy at the time, whether it was Danny Gare or who, I said, boys,
Didn't you have
I
Conroy
know
there?
you're
Steve Conroy?
I know you're professional broadcasters. I get you're professional broadcasters. But remember, this is a 3-hour infomercial for the team.
That's
Sell
right.
tickets. Don't rip us too bad,
That's right. And the Real Kyper show is an hour infomercial. I'm not sure what we're selling, but it's something. Little Buddhas. How's that?
Oh yeah, Little Buddhist, totally.
Okay. Did we exhaust everything for you?
I think we've done everything. I
We're
don't
okay.
think there's anything else we've missed. Let me just check my research here if there's anything I missed.
You okay? Not ripping the Leafs today? They're good.
They won. I was pleased with
okay.
Jack Campbell
giving them a shot.
Again, Jack Campbell lets the 1-in-5-hole goal in. That happens. I mean, if Anderson does that, I mean, they got him out on Bay and Young.
Michael Hutchinson, Mac, goes tonight against Edmonton. They won't come back with Jack Eichel. Apparently, he's not 100% healthy. Anderson's not 100% healthy.
Jack Campbell, not Jack Eichel.
Oh, did I say Eichel?
Yeah, because John Shannon, when you made that mistake, John Shannon will clip that and send it to me. What is Kippy saying? You know how he corrects.
Okay, Jack
Campbell.
We'll just call him Jack. Is not 100%, according to Sheldon Keefe. All of a sudden, you've got 20 games left in the season, and your goalies are battling here.
And Campbell made a couple big saves late in that game. He did play well again. I mean, I didn't like the 5-hole goal, but overall, I thought he played real well. But yeah, health is a lingering concern.
Just as it is when we, get you out of bed in the morning for this show, and get you prepped for noon. Health
is not an issue. That's been tough. I've had the kids here for 4 or 5 days, and it's been a lot of eating. It's just been, a little bit of a vacation time here. So we're trying to I got to get back. Now the kids will go back in the next couple of days. I get back to my training, All
right. Well, we appreciate the effort today. It's good stuff today.
Thanks for having me. Hey, don't forget a promo, Millard, Wednesday. Next show.
Darren Millard, the reunion, the Hockey Central reunion coming up on our next show on Wednesday. Jordan, you excited?
I am excited. I'm also excited to hit our channel's milestone of 10,000 subscribers coming up. Would really love to hit that by the trade deadline. I don't know if that's I
think it's achievable.
Yeah, achievable. We could dream. We could do it. We got to work a little harder. Like we have to pick up Carter Hart's new work ethic after this 2 or 3 day break,
So what we need to do is have everybody out there watching right now tell 2 friends.
Sure.
So they can tell 2 friends and
chain letter.
Just like that.
Let's send out chain letters.
Yeah, tell everybody that their mom will have 10 years of bad luck if they don't subscribe to
my
Movement
gosh.
and the Real
God. No, we're not like that.
Don't say that, Jordan.
Good energy. Nothing but good energy here on the Real Kyper at noon.
Nothing but positive energy. Positive energy, Kip.
All right, Max. We got it today. We're at 9.4 subscribers. That's 9,400, correct, Jordan? Is that where we're at?
Yes, sir. 600 to go. So last week we got a bunch, and hopefully as we lead up to the trade deadline, that will continue. As we get past this week after the Millard episode, we'll start diving a lot deeper into trade stuff, so really excited for that as well.
Ooh, good one. Another score on the table soon here, Mac, is Hoffman in St. Louis.
Healthy scratch.
Not by any means a fan of Craig Berube's. So if you're looking for scoring like the Boston Bruins, all of a sudden Hoffman becomes available. We'll keep everybody informed on that one for your Bruins.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mac, we're going to let you go, pal.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for a great Monday. Great start to the week here. Jordan and Joe, thank you very much. For all of you, like I said, first-time watchers, subscribe. Keep the comments coming. I hope everybody enjoyed today's show. And we'll see you Wednesday with Darren Millard.